Our main character, Jane, just turned 41. In her life, there hasn't been any happiness for too long. To others, Jane seems to complain about nothing. She has a stable job, a warm family, and a comfortable life. Everyone would say they envy her. But only Jane knows these are just appearances. Actually, her life is like stagnant water. A boring job, endless housework, a naughty son, and a husband who doesn't help. All make her feel tired. Deep inside, Jane feels trapped in this invisible cage, not knowing what else to pursue. Stubborn Jane refuses to give up. She decides to find an imaginary rival for her boring life. Through this painful competition, she hopes to find happiness again. A familiar name, Rebecca, comes to mind. She taps the keyboard, finds Rebecca's social media account, and gives a sly smile. In this world, no one is better than Rebecca to be Jane's imaginary rival, because she's Ho-Ray's ex-girlfriend, and Ho-Ray is Jane's husband. So Jane finds a new life goal, not a very kind one. She'll spy on her rival's life, and then make sure to live better than her. Actually, Jane and Rebecca's connection goes deeper than imagined. Their first meeting was quite memorable. Back then they were both new at work. On Jane's first day, she was surprised to find a girl wearing the same outfit. Not only did they have the same taste, they even share the same birthday. But the girl is 2 years younger than Jane. Her name is Rebecca. Unlike always smiling Jane, Rebecca keeps a straight face all the time. Her personality isn't likable. Looking at Rebecca, Jane feels like she's looking in a mirror. They seem similar on the surface, but are actually complete opposites. Rebecca does things her own way and isn't good with people. Jane is experienced and thoughtful, understanding social rules well. Because of this, Jane soon discovers Rebecca's secret. She's dating someone at work. Interestingly, Rebecca's boyfriend, Ho-Ray, happens to be Jane's direct boss. When his subordinate exposes the relationship, Ho-Ray's first reaction is surprise. He wonders how Jane figured it out after just 1 month at work. Jane smiles and explains. On her first day, Rebecca bumped into Ho-Ray, but neither said sorry. Clearly they knew each other well. Also, as a manager, Ho-Ray knew junior employee Rebecca's exact birthday, proof they were close. Hearing this, Ho-Ray jokes, "You should work for the investigation bureau." Jane grins slyly and says she's actually considered studying psychology. With this light joke, she eases the awkwardness. Ho-Ray asks Jane to keep his secret, and she agrees immediately. She also asks Ho-Ray for a favor, to text her in advance about Rebecca's outfits, to avoid matching clothes. It's an easy request. Ho-Ray agrees. This new employee makes a good first impression on him. She's smart, knows her limits, and acts appropriately. They should just be boss and employee. But sharing a secret adds a bit of friendship to their cold work relationship. Ironically, they had things to talk about as friends, but as husband and wife they barely speak. Late at night, Ho-Ray comes home seeing her tired husband. Jane can't help but make sarcastic remarks, hinting he just came back from seeing another woman. Of course she's just picking a fight. She wants attention. Ho-Ray knows what his wife is doing, but he ignores her. But Jane, who just imagined a rival, isn't ready to let it go. On social media, Jane notices Rebecca has a tattoo of the letter R, so she casually asks her husband if she should get a tattoo too. Ho-Ray thinks she's being ridiculous. Then, remembering Rebecca's posts about her younger boyfriend, Jane gets even angrier. She barges into the bathroom trying to get close to her husband, but he just yells at her impatiently. Ho-Ray pushes her out. Looking at the soap on her hands, Jane feels even worse, both middle-aged women. But Rebecca has a passionate love life, while Jane is stuck in a boring marriage. At some point when she sees their bedsheets, Jane no longer thinks of passion and kisses. All she can think about is the trouble of washing bedsheets. They need drying, sunning, and ironing. These small chores in the quiet moments slowly drain the life out of her. The next morning, thinking about last night, Ho-Ray feels a little guilty. He moves closer to his wife. The joy of being wanted by her husband finally makes Jane smile. Middle-aged couples' intimacy only happens in stolen moments. Then her mother-in-law arrives. Ho-Ray's mom comes uninvited. She's a tough woman to deal with. She takes out her key and opens her son's door without permission, then starts complaining, scolding Jane for not making breakfast for her grandson and son, always taking the easy way out, letting her precious boys eat junk food outside. Her mother-in-law always makes Jane want to fight back. Jane thinks to herself, this is good. At least life still gives her something to complain about. It's hard to believe these two who now fight like cats and dogs used to be as close as mother and daughter. And all this was because of Rebecca. That day Ho-Ray's phone rang during a meeting. He couldn't answer. Jane picked up Ho-Ray's mom's call. Turns out Ho-Ray's mom ran a red light and got hit. Her bone was cracked. She was wailing in the hospital at that moment. Both Ho-Ray and Rebecca were busy, so Jane had to rush to the hospital. This sweet, thoughtful girl immediately won Ho-Ray's mom's heart. Compared to her son's quiet girlfriend, Rebecca, with her dark eye makeup, the difference was clear. Ho-Ray's mom grew more unhappy. Jane was so caring. Rebecca acts like a stiff piece of wood. She finally brings some soup, but forgets Ho-Ray's mom doesn't eat fish. So Ho-Ray's mom invites Jane over for dinner and makes sarcastic remarks about Rebecca. That's when Jane learns Rebecca comes from a poor family. Her family has no money, and she has to stay at Ho-Ray's place. She even has a brother who went to jail. Listening to Ho-Ray's mom complain nonstop, Jane starts having some complicated thoughts. She has to admit she likes Ho-Ray too. This is the connection between her and Rebecca. People who like the same clothes could also like the same man. But Jane also realizes Ho-Ray really loves Rebecca. About this, Jane's friend doesn't care. She encourages Jane to go for it. They're not married anyway. Plus, Jane already has Ho-Ray's mom's support. But Ho-Ray doesn't notice the tension between the women. To him, Jane is still just a caring co-worker and friend. So he acts like a good boss and organizes a birthday party for Jane. He sometimes shares his worries too about fixing his mom and girlfriend's relationship. Ho-Ray might not mean anything by it, but these actions slowly bring him closer to Jane and keep that bad, guilty thought stuck in Jane's mind. Time gives the answer. In this fight for Ho-Ray, Jane wins. But years later, as the winner, Jane doesn't seem happy about her victory. She becomes a housewife, trapped in marriage, while Rebecca lives a rich, free, single life. Before her eyes, there are only unwashed clothes and dirty dishes piled in the sink. Rebecca's social media clearly shows Jane that Rebecca has $18 million and exciting surprises every day. This huge gap finally makes Jane explode. She coldly tells her husband that he buys maple leaf cake every year on her birthday because Jane likes it. But actually she never liked maple leaf cake. Rebecca did. However, these 12 years of bottled-up feelings only get Ho-Ray's impatient reply. Your life is too comfortable. Are you just looking for trouble? What Jane doesn't know is that in places she can't see, Ho-Ray has met Rebecca again in front of a restaurant. Ho-Ray spots Rebecca from his car. She's alone reading the restaurant's menu outside. Ho-Ray approaches her, taps her shoulder, and says hi. However, when Rebecca turns around, no one is there. Actually, this was just Ho-Ray's imagination. Maybe in another universe Ho-Ray really greets Rebecca, but in this reality Ho-Ray just silently watches Rebecca enter the restaurant. People prefer living in their imagination, not just Ho-Ray, but Jane too. Actually, Rebecca's real life is far less glamorous than Jane imagines. Her social media post about daily surprises is actually sarcasm. Only shocks await Rebecca. Both her work and personal life are complete messes. At work, her right-hand woman, Rose, wants to quit. The reason for a man. Rose tells her she had a big fight with her boyfriend. He threatened her. If she keeps working day and night like this, they'll have to break up between career and love. Rose chooses career at home. Rebecca's landlord suddenly shows up, telling her to move out by September because his son got his girlfriend pregnant and needs to marry quickly. This makes Rebecca speechless. She just finished repainting and installing new floors. The landlord stayed quiet while benefiting, but when family issues arise, he forces her out suddenly full of demands. With both work and life pressures, Rebecca loses all birthday spirit. Work becomes even busier. The 18 million Jane sees on Rebecca's social media isn't money Rebecca actually has, but her distant dream. More precisely, it's her planned retirement fund. Without realizing, Rebecca reaches life's turning point. Issues she'd never consider when younger now dominate her peers' conversations, like retirement. Rebecca has no husband, no kids, no house or car. She does freelance work she loves to her. Her life feels complete. But older friend Jenny gives Rebecca a wake-up call. She tells Rebecca, you can't stay young forever. New talents replace the old, especially with AI coming. You might lose your job someday. In her opinion, you need to save at least 20 million before retirement to barely afford a decent old age. And that's without even considering inflation. She warns Rebecca, at 40 you can't think about what you like, only about preparing for the future. Though Rebecca says she doesn't care, deep down these words still affect her. She opens her bank account, checks the balance, and starts thinking deeply. Right at this moment Rebecca gets a call from the clothing store. The salesperson tells her the suit and pants are ready, just waiting for payment. From Rebecca's clothes and home decor, You can tell she's not someone who'll accept any lifestyle about life. Rebecca has her own standards. Now, in her prime, supporting herself is easy, but when she's old, can she keep the same living standard? That might be questionable. Thinking this, Rebecca painfully declines the purchase. The salesperson tries to convince her, saying there's a 20% discount now. Rebecca smiles and politely says, maybe when it's 40% off. We'll see if it's meant to be. Rebecca tells herself just 18 million more to save, and she'll be worry-free for the future. She must control herself now. Even that so-called younger boyfriend is fake. The boy named David is desperately chasing a girl, but getting no response. Rebecca tells him, a sense of competition is necessary in love. It's like when you're shopping. If someone else suddenly wants the same item, that thing you thought was just okay before suddenly becomes must-have. People's likes and dislikes often change based on what others think. To put it bluntly, we're silly like that. Things only seem tasty when others want them. You should stay mysterious around someone you like. Keep them guessing. Never show all your cards. Only then will they feel competitive and think, I must win them over. So Rebecca purposely takes a vague photo with David and posts it online. Turns out Rebecca was right. When the girl sees the photo, she actually asks David out. But about what comes next, David is still clueless. After hearing Rebecca's advice, David says with admiration, you're really good at this. But Rebecca just shakes her head with a smile, telling David she's actually not. That's why she's still single. What she shared are just painful lessons from her rivals. David senses there's an interesting story behind this. He begs Rebecca to tell him, but Rebecca abruptly changes the subject. The surprises, savings, and boyfriend on Rebecca's social media are nothing like what Jane imagined. Even Rebecca's proud independence and freedom are shaken by Rose's words. After a busy day, Rebecca calls Rose to make up on the phone. They talk about what future they really want. Rose's boyfriend once asked her, do you want to become like Rebecca? Rebecca asks Rose in disbelief, is being yourself really that bad? Rose immediately says no. In her eyes, Rebecca is beautiful and capable. She's the perfect example of an independent woman. Even without marriage, she still lives a wonderful life. But sometimes Rose thinks Rebecca seems lonely. Rose admires Rebecca, but she's afraid of that loneliness. After thinking it over, she chooses love instead. It may be ordinary, but it feels safer. After hanging up, Rebecca feels extremely tired. She enters a restaurant only to be told single diners must sit at the bar. In Rebecca's imagination, she would argue with the waiter angrily spouting deep philosophical points. But in reality, she just meekly eats convenience store food. Rebecca can't understand why the life she built herself became a cautionary tale to others. Frustrated, she needs to vent. So she calls a salesperson and buys that expensive suit and pants. Of course, lost in her misery, Rebecca doesn't notice Ho-Ray watching her from nearby. Actually, more than one man cares about Rebecca. In another unnoticed corner, new romantic feelings are growing. This time the leading man is David. As they spend more time together, David grows more attracted to independent Rebecca. He rides her home on his bike, and just as his feelings deepen, Rebecca suddenly invites him upstairs. This unexpected surprise leaves David stunned, but his happiness doesn't last long. His hopes are completely crushed. David watches Rebecca get into another man's luxury car. He thinks this was all just a trick. From the beginning, Rebecca posting flirty photos was actually using him to make someone else jealous. To David, honest use of someone is acceptable, but unexplained use feels like betraying friendship. Seeing the angry young man, Rebecca doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. She tells David she already blocked the man with the luxury car. That day she want to break up with him. Rebecca's honesty actually surprises David. His curiosity grows. He can't help asking why they broke up. Unable to resist his questions, Rebecca snaps back. He's married. About this unhealthy relationship, Rebecca explains very directly. When you're exhausted, you just want someone by your side. However, what David doesn't know is, at that moment, the person Rebecca truly thinks of is Ho-Ray, who broke up with her years ago. Rebecca pulls herself together and starts planning for the future. She decides to buy insurance and change her mood. She follows David, who's substitute teaching, to a kids' roller skating class. During class, David organizes a game of claiming spots. Rebecca stumbles and fails to claim any spot. A kind little boy gives her his spot. Rebecca thanks him, but then says, but don't always give away things you've rightfully earned, or you'll regret it deeply. The boy looks confused, too young to understand. This is wisdom from someone who's lived half a lifetime. Rebecca doesn't expect that this boy named Henry turns out to be the son of Ho-Ray and Jane. The next moment, Ho-Rae, the person she's been longing for, appears before her. But this time Ho-Rae is no longer her lover. He's just a father waiting to pick up his son. Though they're so close, their lives no longer have any connection. In fact, Ho-Rae doesn't even notice her presence. Rebecca quietly watches him walk away. After secretly following Rebecca on social media, Jane's calm middle-aged married life gets stirred up again. One day, she accidentally discovers Ho-Rae and Rebecca visited the same restaurant. Actually, though Ho-Rae didn't greet Rebecca that day, he later returned to that restaurant to get takeout for his son. This middle-aged man's little nostalgia for his ex should have remained secret, but was caught by his sensitive wife, Jane. However, Jane doesn't get angry. With mixed feelings, she gets the same curly hairstyle as Rebecca and asks her husband if she reminds him of someone. But Ho-Rae completely misses her hint. In the end, the restaurant incident blows over. Ironically, the whole time it was just Jane's one-sided drama, and their strained marriage is just the tip of their middle-aged troubles. Jane still has tension with her mother-in-law. Jane still can't chop green onions evenly. Before marriage, it was no big deal. After marriage, it became a huge crime. Hearing her mother-in-law's complaints, Jane can't help but laugh bitterly to herself. The saying, familiarity breeds contempt, never gets old. What troubles her more is that her own family has problems too. Just like Rebecca, Jane also has an older brother. Compared to Rebecca's brother, her brother is much more reliable. Her brother's wife invites them to dinner at a small trendy restaurant. Jane praises the choice outwardly but secretly looks down on it, thinking her sister-in-law is showing off. She also hints that her sister-in-law isn't taking good care of their mother. But Jane's sister-in-law isn't easily bullied. Using the dinner as an excuse, she gets straight to the point. Jane's mother has early-stage dementia. She and her husband decide to pay to send Jane's mother to a professional care center. Hearing this, Jane strongly objects. But her objections seem weak. After all, her brother and sister-in-law offer a decent plan, even if it's not perfect. Jane has no better ideas. Seeing his wife so upset, Ho-Rae comforts her. Don't always expect the worst. The final test results aren't confirmed yet. If it's confirmed, medication can slow it down. If needed, your mom can live with us. Then we can hire a helper to care for her together. But Jane snaps back. Is there even room for more people? After some arguing, Ho-Rae suggests a final solution. Jane should quit her job and become a housewife. Ho-Rae thinks Jane's insurance job is just something she does half-heartedly. She lacks passion for it, and the pay isn't great. Quitting wouldn't change much, so she might as well focus on family. Besides, Ho-Rae was just promoted to VP. He's confident he can support the whole family. But this so-called kindness makes Jane furious. She thinks Ho-Rae never respected her job. Even the most ordinary job gives her a sense of identity. She won't be trapped at home just being someone's wife. Ho-Rae can't understand why Jane is so angry. Back when they were co-workers, Jane told him herself she wasn't passionate about work. She just did it to make ends meet and make some friends, to stay connected with society. Ho-Rae offers a practical solution, but Jane cares more about her pride. Jane refuses to be forced out of her job and won't lose to Rebecca again. Truth is, Jane is just an ordinary person. She's responsible at work, but not passionate. Yet her rival, Rebecca, is talented and full of ambition. Rebecca loves her career, though in her youth, she also had doubts. She's like uncut jade, polished by time, now shining brightly. This brilliance deeply hurts Jane because Jane knows Ho-Rae loves Rebecca exactly like this. Even when Rebecca was just a misfit, Ho-Rae saw through her oddness and recognized her greatness. He nurtured her like a mentor, admiring her quirks, smarts, and stubbornness. This deep connection could never exist between Jane and Ho-Rae. Years ago, this already bothered Jane. Now middle-aged, seeing Rebecca's career success, Jane's old insecurities return. Maybe behind Jane's competitive jealousy lies a deep insecurity she can't express. The storm raging in her heart makes her ignore Ho-Rae's struggles. Actually, Ho-Rae's promotion looks impressive, but it's actually very difficult. The previous vice president was forced to retire just to cut costs. Ho-Rae, who replaced him, only got a fancy title with little pay raise. Behind Ho-Rae's promotion is someone else's suffering, Rebecca's former boss, Christine. Christine is a strong career woman who chose work over marriage. After being promised a promotion, she turned down better job offers, only to be betrayed at the last moment. She lost the VP position just because she's a woman. At Ho-Rae's promotion party, Christine sarcastically warns Ho-Rae, loyalty isn't worth much. No one escapes being abandoned. Before leaving, she asks Ho-Rae spitefully, "Oh, By the way, did you know Rebecca was sleeping with the general manager? The manager Christine mentions is John, the rich man who drives Rebecca home. Like Ho-Ray, he sees the special light in Rebecca's soul. During a PR crisis for a problematic celebrity, the awkward but unique girl caught his attention. Everyone wanted to abandon the celebrity, but Rebecca refused to kick him when he's down. Her unusual approach solved the crisis. When asked what she wanted to eat, Rebecca said Subway, making John smile knowingly. But a powerful man like him, wrapped in layers of business interests, is bound by worldly rules. Rebecca can be his mistress, his confidant, but never his wife. This twisted relationship was doomed from the start. It was bound to end badly. Compared to John, Ho-Ray isn't a successful man, but he once had the courage to stand up for Rebecca against everything. After Rebecca's brother gets out of prison, he comes looking for his sister. Using the address from her letter, he runs into Ho-Ray's mom, sparking a huge family fight. Ho-Ray's mom looks down on Rebecca, but Ho-Ray defends her fiercely, even standing up to his own mother. Ho-Ray can't bear to see Rebecca hurt, but when Jane clashes with his mom, he just tells his wife to be patient. This obvious favoritism might be what Jane wants most, but Ho-Ray's love isn't enough to keep Rebecca. In the end, Rebecca moves out and breaks up with Ho-Ray. She tells him they can't abandon their families for each other. It's a problem with no solution. Instead of hurting each other, making things difficult, it's better to let go. Rebecca seems strong, but really this sudden breakup leaves deep scars on both of them. Sometimes they wonder what if they had chosen differently? They might have married, had kids, leaned on each other. In his dream, Ho-Ray sighs. Tomorrow will be perfect. He smiles through his tears when he wakes. It was just a dream, in another world. Yet some unspoken understanding makes these former lovers decide the same thing at almost the same time, saying goodbye to the past. Rebecca is moving away. Ho-Ray hugs his sleeping wife and whispers, "You look better with straight hair." But his wife, Jane, doesn't understand what he really means to Jane. Ho-Ray and Rebecca's breakup was messy and complicated. They never truly let go in their love story. Jane was just a hidden observer with selfish motives waiting for her chance. But because of this, Jane understands Ho-Ray's feelings better than anyone else. Actually, when Rebecca texted to break up, Ho-Ray didn't accept it. He tried everything to keep Rebecca. Even arguing with his mom, he stayed silent for days to show his love was real. Finally, Ho-Ray's mom called Jane, crying. Jane wanted to help, but Ho-Ray told her he wouldn't give up on Rebecca, because if you give up, you can never win. In some ways, Jane and Ho-Ray are alike. When they want something, they never give up. Ho-Ray fought for Rebecca. Jane chased after Ho-Ray. In this long battle, Jane became the winner. Maybe it was meant to be. Personality shapes fate. Jane fights for what she wants. Rebecca fears rejection. Their different upbringings explain this. Their brothers show their family differences. Even in her 40s, Jane still acts spoiled, with her brother making him support her insurance business and bossing around his wife. She's clearly a spoiled younger sister. Meanwhile, Rebecca is still dealing with the mess her brother left behind. Nothing has changed from years ago. Even so, Rebecca can never abandon her brother. She can't forget the days they depended on each other. But as emotions build up, she finally yells at him, "Please be more responsible. I'm so tired of this." All of this is seen by David. David tells Rebecca, "I'm here." Though it's just reckless courage, it still touches Rebecca's heart as tears fall. Rebecca remembers Ho-Ray again. Years ago, when her brother got arrested for climbing balconies, she rushed to the police station in panic. It was Ho-Ray's simple words, "I'm here," that calmed her down. From past to present, what Rebecca has always wanted might just be these simple words, "I'm here." Rebecca's life remains turbulent, while on the other side, Jane's life is gradually becoming peaceful. First, her mother's dementia diagnosis was wrong. Second, Rebecca seems to have noticed her. Her social media hasn't been updated for over 10 days. Though she can't see her rivals' updates, Rebecca's presence still lingers in Jane's mind. She can't help remembering something about contact names. Jane suspects her husband never once thought of giving her a special name in his phone, like wife or darling. So her name in Ho-Ray's phone must be just the plain Jane. What hurts her more is that in Ho-Ray's phone there's another contact named Forgot. That must be Rebecca. Even after years apart, Rebecca remains special in Ho-Ray's heart. The truth is Jane knows Ho-Ray well, but she doesn't know that after she found out, Ho-Ray quietly deleted Rebecca's number. By then Jane no longer wanted to argue. She thinks maybe a simple life isn't so bad. A peaceful life might be the greatest happiness. Marriage may not keep love alive, but it creates responsibility that binds couples together. Actually, Jane hasn't moved on, she's just accepting her life. Meanwhile, Rebecca prepares to move and finds courage to start anew. While packing her things, she accidentally finds a keychain with an R charm, bringing back memories. It's the key to Ho-Ray's mom's house. They broke up suddenly, so she never returned it and kept it all these years. Keys symbolize home. Rebecca was once so close to having a home with Ho-Ray. Back then, Ho-Ray saved money to buy them a new house and proposed to Rebecca there, just 10 minutes from his mom's house, with a room for Rebecca's brother. Ho-Ray desperately tried to remove all obstacles to their love. He told Rebecca she didn't need money, just half her love for him and half for herself. When he slipped on the ring, Rebecca was moved. She stands outside Ho-Ray's mom's house and makes that important call on the phone. She carefully asks Ho-Ray's mom if she would allow her to marry Ho-Ray. Actually, the answer was already decided. Ho-Ray's mom cries loudly, accusing Rebecca of stealing her son. When Jane's comforting voice comes from the other end of the line, Rebecca's last bit of strength completely disappears. Her pride wins over love. Again, she knows if she marries Ho-Ray, Ho-Ray's mom will hate her forever. For Rebecca, who grew up depending on others, she can't handle that much hatred, so she gives up. Luckily, all that is in the past. Now Rebecca finds the courage to stand before that door again. This time returning the key is her only goal. But she never expected this simple idea would save Ho-Ray's mom's life. Turns out, Ho-Ray's mom slipped in the bathroom. Rebecca used the key to let neighbors in so Ho-Ray's mom could go to the hospital quickly. After getting the news, Ho-Ray and Jane rush there. The couple waits outside the emergency room with their son. Jane wants to comfort her husband, but pulls her hand back after hearing his true feelings. Ho-Ray says tiredly, with some bitterness, Jane's sister-in-law may have many faults, but at least she lets the old lady live with them. Then Ho-Ray blames himself, keeps repeating he should have moved back sooner. Clearly he's blaming Jane. At that moment Ho-Ray must have forgotten back. When it was for Rebecca, he was so determined to leave his mother and move out of their old home. But this painful contrast is something Jane will never forget. It adds another small crack to their already shaky marriage. Finally, Ho-Ray tells Jane to take their son home first, while he stays alone at the hospital. Then Ho-Ray pulls out the key his neighbor gave him. When he sees the familiar R pendant, his blood runs cold. Rebecca was here. She saved his mother. Mixed feelings flood his heart. Ho-Ray desperately wants to contact Rebecca. Maybe even he doesn't know what to say. He just needs to hear her voice again to get her reply. But ironically, the number labeled forgotten was recently deleted by his own hand. Suddenly, Ho-Ray realizes the number he automatically typed was actually Jane's. Years of marriage have made Jane his automatic habit. So Ho-Ray murmurs in a daze, "I really did forget." Not sure if it's regret or self-mockery. Without noticing, those once unforgettable marks have faded. The past truly vanishes like smoke in the wind for Jane. Ho-Ray's mom's fall shatters her life completely, turning all her happiness into fleeting bubbles. When she gets the neighbor's emergency call, despite the noise, Jane's still. Jane immediately recognizes Rebecca's voice. She learns, before Ho-Ray does, that Rebecca saved Ho-Ray's mom. The rival she always imagined now stands before her holding her mother-in-law's house keys. Before Jane can process this complicated situation, her troubled life keeps getting worse with one problem after another. First, Ho-Ray gives her the cold shoulder, as if she's truly done something wrong and should take full blame for his mom's injury. Jane tries to please her husband, hoping to ease his stress, but her efforts backfire, making things awkward. Then, distracted by her troubles, she makes a serious mistake at work, adding an extra zero to an insurance contract, and misses picking up her son from school. When she gets home, she finds her son sick with fever. Between her husband's blame, her son's illness, and her boss's scolding, Jane feels completely alone and helpless. Meanwhile, Rebecca faces big problems at work too. The guest they plan to invite for the film festival cancels after a bad interview, and their sponsorship might fall through. To make matters worse, the festival sponsor is Rebecca's former company, and the contact person is her old boss, Christine. To solve this crisis, a coworker suggests Rebecca contact Ho-Ray, who was just promoted to vice president and might be able to help. Facing this suggestion, Rebecca hesitates. She has to admit she has personal feelings. Ho-Ray's number has stayed in her contacts all this time. She never even deleted their old messages, as if time stood still. Rebecca wants to call Ho-Ray, but not for work reasons. She just wants to ask, is Ho-Ray's mom feeling better now? But she can't find the courage to hit send. While hesitating, David, who's temporarily working as her assistant, suddenly bursts in sharing news about the market's new structure with Rebecca. Looking at this impulsive young man, Rebecca can't help but feel relieved and says, "You came to save me, didn't you?" David looks confused, completely unaware that his little interruption just pulled Rebecca out of her memories and back to reality and cut off that tiny bit of longing in her heart. In the end, Rebecca still doesn't contact Ho-Ray, unlike Jane, who keeps hitting walls and can't move forward in life. After a short streak of bad luck, Rebecca gets a new chance, and the key to solving her crisis turns out to be her past self from 12 years ago. Back then, Rebecca changed her PR strategy and helped that troubled celebrity. Now he's made a big comeback, returning strong with a Golden Globe-nominated work. To repay Rebecca's kindness, he not only agrees to attend her film festival, but also brings pearl necklace sponsors. Suddenly, all her problems are solved. Rebecca is amazed by how fate works. Meanwhile, Jane is also tasting the consequences of her past choices, the sweet and bitter feelings. Only she truly understands everything in her life. Now is what she fought hard to get back then. After breaking up with Rebecca, Ho-Ray fell into depression and almost quit his job. Following the general manager's advice, he decides to leave this sad place for a while and goes to Shanghai for work. Ho-Ray's departure actually gives Jane an opportunity. With Ho-Ray's mom's support, Jane makes her move, using the excuse of taking care of Ho-Ray's mom, moves into Ho-Ray's house. Meanwhile, Rebecca is heartbroken after the breakup and travels abroad alone, trying to numb her pain with short flings. But when she sees gossip about Christine and thinks Ho-Ray and Jane are living together, tears still fall in the cold wind. She looks up and sees General Manager John. This chance meeting abroad and his comforting embrace explains how Rebecca begins her secret affair with John, who's already married. Facing Ho-Ray's coldness, Jane can't help but confront him. "Why do you blame me for everything? What did I do wrong? You bought this house. If you didn't want to move out from your mom's, why did you buy it?" This was actually the home Ho-Ray meant for Rebecca. Facing his wife's anger, Ho-Ray grows impatient. Jane finally snaps after years of holding back, yelling, "What if you'd married Rebecca instead?" before slamming the door. Jane's broken heart reaches its limit when she sees Rebecca's new post. She stares at Rebecca's words, the smile in his heart. Jane completely breaks down and almost asks in the comments if he means Ho-Ray. Just before sending Ho-Ray's apology text appears, tears flood Jane's eyes. His few words make her feel they might patch things up. But actually Jane misunderstood both Ho-Ray and Rebecca. That post hints at new sparks between Rebecca and David. During Rebecca's lowest time, David was the one by her side. She tells David that between men and women, even if they don't end up together, she, Rebecca, won't lose. She wants to be that teardrop in someone's heart. But David says compared to a teardrop, she's more suited to be a smile. It's a blessing and also a confession. David finally realizes that hard-to-get girl has long faded from his memory. His true feelings are for Rebecca. Faced with the young man's passionate confession, Rebecca feels a flutter in her heart. She jokes that after her health checkup and buying pension insurance, she'll date David. David jumps for joy. He can't wait for her to get checked tomorrow. This honest and sincere love fills Rebecca's life with energy. But at the same time, Jane feels weighed down by gloom. She quits her job to care for Ho-Ray's mom at home. She sacrifices herself to become the perfect wife and dutiful daughter-in-law. But the question stuck in her heart remains unanswered. To Ho-Ray, is Jane just an obligation or someone he truly loves? Perhaps Jane already knows the answer but won't face it. When Ho-Ray says that grateful but distant thank you, the spark of excitement in her heart slowly fades. Jane has a dream where Ho-Ray meets Rebecca again. They exchange greetings and talk about Ho-Ray's mom's condition. The alarm shatters the dream. Jane slowly opens her eyes. In Jane's eyes, Ho-Ray's thank you shows politeness and gratitude, but never love. The sad truth is her marriage with Ho-Ray began with these same thank yous. When Ho-Ray went to work in Shanghai, Jane moved into his family home to take full care of Ho-Ray's mom. All her efforts to please him only earned Ho-Ray's thanks and co-workers' mockery. Sharp-tongued Christine hits the mark. Without status, Jane's no different from a maid. This stings Jane deeply. She tells Ho-Ray she's quitting and starts packing to leave. But it's easy to stop Jane. Ho-Ray just needs to say, "Marry me," and she freezes in place. Ironically, this sudden proposal is both simple and careless. No romance, no surprises, no kneeling, just a messy house and the heavy box in her arms. Even the ring box is opened by Jane herself. The ill-fitting ring makes Ho-Rei uncomfortable, but Jane shakes her head tearfully, saying it's fine, forcing it onto her finger as if afraid he'll change his mind. Yet Jane can't fool herself. Deep down she always knew this stumbling marriage wasn't a victory. She got Ho-Rei only because Rebecca stepped aside, and Ho-Rei's decade of thank yous seems to prove her right. After bringing Ho-Rei's mom home, Jane becomes trapped in their small house. Caring for a paralyzed patient is much harder than she imagined. Messy accidents everywhere, constant calls for help. All this pushes Jane to her breaking point. She visibly grows more exhausted. No energy left to care about her appearance. Yet despite everything, she still doesn't get loving care or praise from her husband for all her efforts. Ho-Rei only ever says one thing: thanks. In this endless dark routine, the only light in Jane's life comes from her rival, Rebecca. Checking Rebecca's social media becomes Jane's only relaxing moment. When Rebecca posts, "Thanking my younger self from 12 years ago," Jane can't help but wonder if she should thank her past self too. And that video of Rebecca roller skating with a bright smile. Jane watches it over and over, almost obsessively. To her, this is Rebecca's victory. Yet beyond envy and jealousy, Jane might feel some genuine admiration too. Somehow Rebecca's smile becomes sunlight, breaking through Jane's gloom. In this quiet despair, days pass by. Jane never expected her life could still change. The Jane who loved Ho-Rei so much, who sacrificed her pride and career, actually has an affair, and her affair partner is Jack, the doctor treating Ho-Rei's mom. The reason is simple. In this endless caregiving nightmare, Dr. Jack is the only one who praises her. This tiny bit of kindness gives Jane strength to face another day. From Jane's emptiness and loneliness, we see how neglected she is by Ho-Rei. Actually, Jane didn't plan to have an affair at first. She just needed Jack's encouragement to. She finds new motivation to care for her mother-in-law and makes this her new purpose. But just when things seem to be getting better, Rebecca deals Jane a crushing blow. Jane can no longer see Rebecca's social media posts. Rebecca has set her account to private. Jane had depended on her imaginary rival. Rebecca's life was her fuel. Jane silently accuses Rebecca of being cruel to her. Having no enemy is lonelier than having no friends. 164 days after Rebecca disappears, Ho-Rei's mom passes away peacefully. Jane is finally free. But Jane acts like a prisoner, released after too long. She doesn't know how to face her new freedom. She keeps forgetting her mother-in-law is gone. When she sees the messy living room, she screams without thinking. Yet even when Jane clearly isn't acting normal, her husband Ho-Rei remains cold. Maybe he's in great pain too, or maybe he's just avoiding her as usual, or maybe for no reason at all. He just doesn't love her enough. In this situation, Dr. Jack, who once understood Jane's pain, leaves his number in her hand on the bedsheets she carefully arranged. Jane cheats. This isn't just physical. It's more like comfort for her soul. After Ho-Rei gives her another cold thank you, Jane confesses her affair. Even at this moment, Ho-Rei stays calm and coldly asks, "Did it feel good?" Jane replies, "It feels better now." This is Jane's revenge on her husband. But the satisfaction only lasts until Ho-Rei learns the truth. After that brief moment of revenge, she still has to face all the broken pieces of her life. Jane has made a mistake. Ho-Rei moves back to his mother's old house. Their relationship hits rock bottom. The only thing that makes Jane happy is when she hears news about Rebecca again. One day, while Jane has nothing to do, she practices roller skating like Rebecca does. She accidentally bumps into David. She quickly asks David about his girlfriend's recent life. This surprises David. After hearing his answer, Jane smiles sincerely. Luckily, her enemy, Rebecca, is doing just fine. Jane's feelings for Rebecca become more complicated. Hate is just another form of love, and an enemy might just be a friend called by another name. As Jane's marriage becomes shaky and seems about to end, Jane discovers two small things that confuse her, about a cake and a ring. All this time Jane thought Ho-Rei mixed up her preferences with Rebecca's. The maple leaf cake he brings every year for her birthday was actually Rebecca's favorite. But when another birthday comes, Jane's mother and brother remind her that she used to love maple leaf cakes as a child, and Ho-Rei knew this fact all along, which is why he always brought them. Also, the ill-fitting engagement ring he gave Jane wasn't something Rebecca had discarded. It was specially chosen for Jane, based on Ho-Rei's mom's suggestion. But Jane never asked and Ho-Rei never explained. These unnecessary misunderstandings have stood between them for years in their marriage. Now Jane finally realizes she's been too focused on comparing herself to Rebecca, that she overlooked the good things she already had. But those cold moments between them can't be easily forgotten. But those cold moments can't just be forgotten. What should Jane do about her marriage with Ho-Ray? It's still a question mark, but soon Jane stops thinking about it. A sudden accident changes her whole life, and the person involved is Rebecca, who she cares about most. One day Jane chats with coworkers. Her ex-colleague Sunny sighs about a poor client who wanted retirement insurance but got diagnosed with breast cancer. The client is 40 and single. Jane gets a bad feeling. When she sees the name Rebecca on the form, her mind goes blank. She rushes out without thinking. Jane tells herself, there are many Rebeccas in the world. Lots of 40-year-old Rebeccas too. So this poor woman with cancer mustn't be her rival, Rebecca. This is both a command to fate and a desperate plea. Through the crowd she spots that familiar, beautiful face. Jane freezes for a moment. She shouts Rebecca's name, but the taxi drives away and they miss each other again. Instead of just being rivals, Jane finds a better word for her bond with Rebecca: quantum entanglement. They share the same birthday, have the same tastes, from clothes to men. This might be rarer than love. Without realizing, Jane often whispers to herself, "Are you okay, my dear entanglement?" After hearing that Rebecca might have cancer, Jane does two things. First, she calls people she cares about to ask if they're okay. Second, she keeps looking for Rebecca, begging Sunny to tell her more. Her worry for Rebecca is stronger than her mixed feelings about Ho-Ray. Her efforts pay off. Jane finally finds a clue: her son's substitute roller skating teacher, Rebecca's boyfriend, David. But David's answer makes Jane furious. Rebecca is really sick. After learning about her illness, David left her. So when David said his girlfriend was fine, he wasn't talking about Rebecca, but another girl he once liked. As David explains with guilt, Jane learns everything turns out Rebecca was suffering just like Jane. Jane's pain came from Ho-Ray's paralyzed mom, while Rebecca's came from cancer. At first Rebecca's life was getting better. She wasn't afraid of the future, planned to buy a house, get retirement insurance, and date David without worrying. But fate played a cruel joke on her. One day Rebecca was happily flirting with David. His young romance brightened her life, making everything feel new and beautiful. The next day Rebecca disappears without a word, confusing David completely. At first David thinks his childish behavior at the art market made Rebecca angry. Back then, to make Rebecca jealous, he purposely stayed close to a girl he used to like, when David was crazy about her before she ignored him. Now that David gave up, the girl suddenly became friendly. David was just pretending, but then he saw Rebecca leaving in a hurry. What he didn't know then was that Rebecca just got bad news from her medical report. The sudden cancer diagnosis made Rebecca shut everyone out and cut contact with David. David doesn't know the truth, but keeps trying to win Rebecca back, like a lost puppy waiting alone for its owner. Then Rebecca does give him one chance one night. When she's drunk, she suddenly appears on the street, telling him not to be mad, and takes him home. All David's anger disappears, replaced by nervous excitement. But Rebecca's next move completely surprises him. In the warm yellow light, Rebecca takes off her shirt and asks David if she's beautiful. After getting his clear yes, Rebecca confesses her illness, telling David she's having a mastectomy next Tuesday, which will leave a big scar. Then Rebecca looks at David, asking if he still wants to date her, if he still wants to, after thinking he should come find her. But Rebecca's honesty doesn't get the answer she hoped for. David backs away to escape the situation. He immediately goes back to the girl he used to like. He quickly starts a new relationship. Hearing this, Jane is furious. She yells at David, "Don't you love her? What's so hard to choose? You should have held her tight then, given her courage." Then she can't help but swear, "You men just don't understand love. Super selfish." As an enemy in this tangled mess, Jane understands better than anyone Rebecca's pride in love. She never begs for love like a beggar. Yet even after lowering herself, she's still let down in the end. Thinking of this, Jane's heart aches so much she can't breathe. David has countless reasons to leave Rebecca. He fears death. He fears facing it. He fears his own weakness. Truthfully, Jane can understand running away. Avoiding pain is human nature, but she still can't forgive David. As Jane herself says, "Because in this story, I'm the other tangled particle." Maybe in Jane's heart Rebecca isn't ordinary. She's Ho-Ray's eternal dream girl, and Jane's own haunting regret. Someone so special shouldn't be troubled by ordinary problems. She deserves extraordinary love, so strong it defies instinct, conquers life and death. Yet in her final days, the only one by Rebecca's side is her unreliable brother. He insists his sister will recover and calls David trash, avenging Rebecca fiercely. After meeting David, Jane's time suddenly slows down. She feels uneasy, but in her confusion, she understands the meaning of life. She realizes that the simple life she took for granted isn't guaranteed. It's luck. Every second is worth being grateful for. Sunny brings Rebecca's latest address. Then she makes a bold decision to leave everything behind and find Rebecca before leaving. Jane writes a letter to Ho-Ray. In it, she apologizes for being selfish and tells Ho-Ray that if they divorce, she has only one condition: shared custody of their son. She knows Ho-Ray will agree, because while he may not be a good husband, he's a kind person at the same time. Jane tells Ho-Ray the real reason she cheated. It wasn't love, it was loneliness. All she needed was someone to listen, hug, and stay with her. But Ho-Ray would never do that, because he always took Jane's love for granted. From their wedding day, there was only gratitude between them, no love. All these years, Jane couldn't stop wondering, what if it were Rebecca? But now she understands. She can't run away forever or live in Rebecca's shadow. She must see her, the woman who's lived in her heart for half her life. The car drives down endless roads, turning corner after corner. Jane finally finds Rebecca standing by the seaside after years apart. Rebecca still looks beautiful, but now, with short hair and no makeup, she seems tired. This sudden meeting surprises Rebecca. She tries to avoid Jane, but Jane shouts out loud that she cheated and will divorce Ho-Ray soon, asking to stay with Rebecca in the sea breeze. Jane confesses, "All these years I've been talking to someone in my heart. I thought it was Ho-Ray, but I realized it was actually you." After a short silence, Rebecca asks, "I want spicy hot pot. Can you make it?" Jane first worries if she should eat such strong food, then learns Rebecca's cancer has spread. Rebecca says it casually, like ordinary small talk. So Jane answers, "I can." 12 years ago, they never imagined Jane would be the one to stay with Rebecca till the end. As waves crash, their final days slowly begin. Life with Rebecca is more ordinary than expected. She naturally accepts Jane's presence. After all, facing death, past conflicts seem unimportant. They talk like old friends, sharing thoughts on marriage. Rebecca sincerely asks Jane, "Was cheating fun?" Jane finally learns about Rebecca's past. Turns out Rebecca heard her father was a sailor who abandoned his family after cheating, cutting ties with her and her siblings. She tells Jane she lives here because she loves the fishing port smell. It feels like home. Jane feels closer to Rebecca than ever, as if seeing into her heart by the sea. Jane efficiently prepares everything and covers Rebecca with a blanket. Rebecca gives a mocking compliment. Such a perfect housewife. Jane takes it in stride. As they talk, they share secrets about each other. Turns out Jane isn't the only one watching Rebecca. Rebecca watches her too. Those public social media posts were meant for Jane to see. Actually, Rebecca is also curious about Jane and Ho-Ray's marriage. She wonders, does Ho-Ray have any regrets learning she wasn't alone in this? Jane smiles. She confesses her past schemes. Even after their breakup, Ho-Ray still loved Rebecca deeply. The rumors Rebecca heard about Jane and Ho-Ray living together were just Jane's trick to push her away. Between them, there are too many secrets to share. But Jane and Rebecca's friendship is full of bumps. They aren't traditional friends. Often Rebecca still bares her fangs trying to hurt Jane. She sneers that Jane has no shame, cheating, yet still asking Ho-Ray for money. She's truly a terrible person. When suffering from illness, Rebecca also says hurtful things without thinking she suspects Jane is laughing at her. She tells Jane to leave immediately. However, Jane tolerates Rebecca's mood swings. She understands how cruel illness can be. She also knows Rebecca's pride and fear. Her harsh and unreasonable behavior comes from Rebecca's unwillingness to lose her dignity. Rebecca uses this self-destructive way to push away all pity from others. She wants to keep her last bit of pride. But Jane doesn't pity. Her pity would belittle Rebecca all this time. In her relationship with Ho-Ray, Jane has always looked up to Rebecca. Her gaze holds jealousy, resentment, and admiration, but never pity. Only someone like Jane is fit to accompany Rebecca in her final days. After calming down, their lives flow gently, again returning to peace. One day, Jane has a dream in it. She brings Rebecca home. Ho-Ray and their son welcome her. The four of them look perfectly natural together, even heartwarming. This strange dream reflects Jane's deepest desire. For 12 years, Rebecca has played a big role in her life. She left a lasting mark. This makes Rebecca one of the most important people in Jane's heart. She stands equal to her husband and son. It's a subtle yet deep connection. In Rebecca, Jane clearly sees herself. Her dreams, love, regrets, all seem tied to this name. After waking, they talk about Ho-Ray. He's no longer a forbidden topic, instead a strange bond between them. Rebecca tells Jane that even if she could do it all over, she would still leave Ho-Ray and would still regret it. Jane points out bluntly that Rebecca loves herself more. Back then, Rebecca heard Jane comforting Ho-Ray's mom on the phone and thought Jane would make a better wife who could make Ho-Ray's life easier. Jane smiles slyly and tells Rebecca she said those things on purpose because she's not that nice, always looking for ways to take advantage. But Rebecca says, bad is better than dumb. If there's a next life, she wants to be really bad. They make a deal. When Rebecca dies, Jane will do her makeup and pick her clothes. When it comes to style, Jane definitely has Rebecca's trust. Jane agrees with a smile, asking Rebecca to leave her all the remaining clothes. But Rebecca says firmly, no way. Burn them all for me. With Jane by her side, death doesn't seem so scary anymore. Actually, though Rebecca often gives Jane a hard time, she's already grown to care about this former enemy who came from far away. Jane loves watching TV, so Rebecca asks her brother to bring a TV during his break. When Jane worries about her son, Rebecca sincerely thanks the child over the phone, telling him, thank you for lending me your mom. Rebecca longs to be someone's first choice. She once pinned this hope on love, but never expected it would be fulfilled by her brother and Jane. Her brother is family, so that makes some sense, but Jane is a complete stranger to her. Yet they are the closest strangers for her. Jane is willing to forget about her job, family, and love, and stay by her side without leaving. The weight of this bond speaks for itself. Even so, the stubborn Rebecca still wants to annoy Jane one last time before she dies. Like a mischievous child, she tells Jane that after being diagnosed with breast cancer, she did something crazy. She texted all 12 men she had been intimate with, asking them, do you miss my breasts? Were they beautiful? Among them, of course, was Ho-Ray. After getting the text, Ho-Ray met with her with just a few words. Rebecca makes Jane jealous. Jane asks Rebecca, so I shouldn't feel guilty for cheating, right? Rebecca softly says, MHM, and this makes Jane burn with jealousy. Even so, Jane still doesn't leave her. Rebecca's life is nearing its end. Weak and barely breathing, she shares one last secret with Jane. It turns out she and Jane don't share the same birthday. Rebecca's mother never wanted to have her and delayed registering her birth for a long time. So Rebecca doesn't know her real birthday. Hearing this, Jane bursts into tears. The birthday is fake, but their lifelong connection is real. Ho-Ray asks to visit Rebecca, but Jane refuses because she knows Rebecca would want her former lover to remember her at her most beautiful. Suddenly Jane sees Rebecca sitting on the hospital bed saying goodbye. In reality, Rebecca looks weak and pale, but in Jane's mind Rebecca stays forever young and beautiful. At the last moment, Jane breaks down completely and can't hold back her tears anymore, crying and asking, what will I do without you? Rebecca smiles and says, just live well. From that moment on, Rebecca becomes that unforgettable smile, forever in Jane's heart. Jane's love finally overcomes all her hate. She wishes Rebecca could get everything she deserves in a parallel universe, and hopes Rebecca will wait for her in the afterlife. Actually, Rebecca left Jane a gift. Through Rebecca's phone, Jane learns the truth. Rebecca lied. Ho-Ray never met with her, but told her instead, I love my wife very much. Rebecca sighs. I'm actually the one who should be jealous. At the end of the story, Jane drives home in tears when she gets a call from Ho-Ray. This man, who's bad with words, doesn't say anything sweet, just one simple phrase. Drive safely. Drive carefully. Jane suddenly realizes these simple words can be so sweet. The road is bumpy, but the view along the way is beautiful.